Hello everybody, my name is Christian Charlo. Today we're Thursday, October 9, 2014. Markets are really volatile today, folks. Yesterday, actually, we had markets that surge after the FOMC minutes. Today, markets are losing almost all the points that they gained yesterday. Look at the situation here on the NASDAQ. On the TSX, we even went lower than the bottom of yesterday. And on the Dow Jones, we're actually continuing the decline. But today, folks, I'm not going to talk about the markets today. My main topic is going to be about Ebola. On marketgurus.tv that you can have access for free for 10 days by clicking at the link below. What we did today, we did publish a list of all the stocks that are involved directly or indirectly in the Ebola. So right now there's a crisis, and those stocks could benefit if the crisis continues. First of all, that stock here, Lakeland Industry, was our day trade of the day on our Facebook page. And if you take a look at Lakeland Industries, what were the entry point? I'm just going to put here less data on a stock like that so you could see the several entry points that we had. A first entry point that we had in that stock was when it broke that sideways formation. Why it was a sideways formation? Because it was bounded by a resistance that every time it was tested, the stock went down, and a support that every time it was tested, the stock went up. So this is a clear sideways formation. So you had a clear entry point there, another one here on Lakeland Industries, and the other entry point is going to be if ever the stock can go above 1934. So those of you who got it either here or there, right now in Lakeland Industries, I believe you should continue to hold on to it. But if ever you see the stock going below 17 bucks, you're going to have to consider to reduce or get out of your positions for day trading. But so far, that has been the most impressive stock that rose. Lakeland Industries, they're not involved in a treatment. The only thing is that they are involved in I think it's the suit that protects people, that allow people to actually get into a Ebola infected area. So they have the suit there. OBCI, what they do, they have some kind of a product that allows to disinfect spaces that have been affected by Ebola. So let's say that, you know, it's the equivalent of a Purell that you put in your hands when you want to disinfect your hands. So OBCI is also a stock that's really active, and right now OBCI for the entry point is going to be around 513 for day traders. So this is definitely going to be a stock to be watched. And there's stocks that are involved in a drug treatment. One of them is Chimerix. Actually, Chimerix, I want to show you how, if you want to benefit from the Ebola stocks, though, there can be some bad surprises. I give you an example. Chimerix, for instance, the stock surged for the last 2 days. And for the last 2 days, this is when we had a patient in Texas that had the Ebola disease. The FDA gave Chimerix drugs approval. So when the patient had this disease, a lot of investors started to rush into the Chimerix stocks because they say, okay, if they get the approval, that's going to be the company that's going to supply all the hospitals if ever the Ebola disease spreads. When the patient died, look at what happened. So people were like, hey, how can I'm going to invest in a stock like that? Because if ever it cannot save that patient, well, maybe the drug is completely doesn't make sense, doesn't diminish the mortality rate. So this is why we had this massive sell-off. So this is why I think it's appropriate to day trade those stocks. So for me, Chimerix Pharmaceuticals, the fact that it stays still within its upward corridor is a good thing. However, my new entry point for buyers, I would like to see the stock breaking 32.50 because that confirms resistance, and the stock will also get out of this important upward channel. So if it does break that channel around 32.50, I'll be a buyer, and my exit point will be around 30.51 if ever we break that former resistance here in September, October. There's also a Canadian company that's called Technura Pharmaceuticals. Their drug has not been approved yet, but they are actually in the FDA process. So we need to see how the drugs, if the FDA can grant them approval for the drug. For me, Technura Pharmaceuticals, the entry point is going to be at 28.51 on the TSX. And then the NASDAQ exchange, the entry point is going to be at 25. And then Technura, the exit point has to be if ever you see the stock reversing its upward trend, so around 22.50. There's also another company here, Biochrist Pharma. They're involved on that disease too. They have a drug there, GlaxoSmithKline, but it's a company that has so many drugs, so it's not really clearly impacted by that. But GlaxoSmithKline could make additional revenues from that too. We also have Newlink Genetics. They also have a drug that's involved on the Ebola disease. Innova Pharmaceuticals, Sarepta Therapeutics as well, and Narovicide. Now, as you see here, most of the stocks that are really active, those are drugs-related companies that have a nice technical pattern and could remain active if the disease spreads. Those are involved with the drug. Those are all the stocks that are highlighted with an S. Those are who are involved with some elements that could allow to eliminate or mitigate the Ebola spread, such as suits or protection suits, or drugs to be able, not drugs, but elements, chemical elements to be able to clean up infected Ebola area. Those are all the stocks that are highlighted with an I. So if you want to benefit from a possible Ebola outbreak, I think those are the stocks that you should watch to actually make some money if ever the Ebola disease spreads. So that said, that was Christian Charlo from MarketGurus.tv. You can have access to MarketGurus.tv for free for 10 days just by clicking at the link below. You can also reach us on our Facebook page, chat with us on our Twitter, and I wish you a good trading.